This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. We got a packed afternoon for all of you live viewers here on the YouTube channel. Shout out to all you podcast listeners, though, making some time for WST content in your feeds. Big show today. We're going to talk a lot of hockey. I mean, we'll, of course, get to the Blue Jays game. Gotta win tonight. Bieber on the mound in Seattle. It's a 7 o'clock start here in Winnipeg. Hard to imagine a path back if they go down 3-0. So it does feel like a must-win game for the Blue Jays tonight. Meanwhile, out in Philly, the Jets practice today. Ken Wiebe is going to join us from Philadelphia later on in the program for the latest on the Jets, his thoughts on the win over the New York Islanders, and a look ahead to tomorrow night as the Jets' lone visit to Philadelphia of the season before returning home for the Nashville Predators on Saturday night. Should be a fun Saturday night down at the rink at Canada Life Center. But before that, we're going to talk Jets and the entire National Hockey League's first week with one of our favorites, Frankie Corrado of TSN. Should be a lot of fun. It was quite the weekend for the Moose, opening at home as well. Dan Fink will pop on in around 2:30. And then after we check in on the Moose opening of the season, we will talk a little NFL. Thomas Tipple jumping on the show with us at the end. At 3:15, because we didn't have a lot of Bomber content within today's show, we've got the new episode of CFL 110. Myself and Jeff Hamilton right after WST. So stick around to the end of the show, and then we'll kick it over with a bit of a self-raid and begin this week's episode of CFL 110. And of course, you can get the CFL 110 podcast as well over at Winnipeg Sports Talk. Just before I bring in Michael Remis, big thanks to the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. A big warm welcome to our friends at Uptown Alleys who are on board for the hockey season. Great to have them on board. Of course, Chud's Power Sports as well. Just putting the final touches on our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll for the National Hockey League through 1 week. Very difficult to nail it right off the bat. We did the preseason one. We'll see how things shape up for that. Of course, NFL coming up on Friday. Also, the HSC Millionaire Lottery, Rollies Transfer, and St. Vital Dental Center, our partners at Coolbet. Don't forget, by the way, a week today, October 22nd, is the next WST Wednesday night poker tourney. Bounty on Jeff Hamilton's head. We cannot have this. Hammer is 2 for 2 so far. So we've added a bounty onto Hammer. I hope you'll join us. More details on the show and on our socials, but that is a week from today. Of course, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dental Center, Princess Auto, Manitoba Battery, Clean Line, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, the Winnipeg Jets. We'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And of course, get you some fan feedback for our friends over at fansfirst.ca. Michael Remis, what is going on? How are you?
I'm feeling good. NHL season in full swing. I don't know what they were doing. Like last week it started on Tuesday and then Friday they had no games. Like, God, that was really dumb. But I enjoyed a full slate of games last night. Jets practicing today as I just get my camera working, Huss. And yeah, some news and Bombers as well. Big game Friday. Big favorites. And fortunate for the Bombers, they're playing a team that's already clinched first.
Yeah, well, and that would be the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We'll kind of dive into that extensively, as well as the playoff scenario for the Bombers. Just a quick note on that. I think I mentioned this at the end. Shout out to DT, Derek Taylor, who did mention that even with a win on Friday, the Bombers don't clinch a playoff spot on Friday night with that win. There is a wild scenario where the Bombers go 1-1 in their final 2 games and finish at 9-9. And then Calgary, BC, and Edmonton all finish at 9-9. And if that's the case, that's bad news for the Bombers. They would finish last in the West on a tiebreaker. So the job is not entirely complete if they can beat Saskatchewan on Friday night, but it'll be pretty damn close. And again, we'll outline all of that on CFL 110 today, coming up a little bit after the program. But just before we dive into the Jets, Reem, because we do have some audio, Scott Arneal spoke at practice. You're the one guy that's playing the heel a little bit as a longtime Mariners fan. How confident? I mean, is this series over, or are you still feeling the nerves as a team with the playoff history of the Mariners that probably should have, despite how well the team looked in those first 2 games in Toronto?
Yeah, I wasn't going to wear a Mariners hat, but since you brought it up for this segment, I will put one of the many that I own on. Haven't been in the ALCS since 2001, a long time ago. Pretty excited. I think they're positioned very well. Game 1 was the Blue Jays game to win with Gaussman on the hill. Mariners having played that 15-inning marathon. So they're set up very well with George Kirby, Luis Castillo, and hopefully Brian Wu for Game 5 if necessary. You don't want to, get too far ahead of yourself. I'm sure there could be some offensive explosion where the Blue Jays bats wake up. Going to be a bit tougher at T-Mobile Field, not exactly known as a hitter's park. But I think if you're Seattle, you're feeling pretty good. But the Blue Jays just need win one game to send it back. So I still think it's not over, but history does show that the team going up 2-0, going home, wins more often than not.
For the record, they got to win 2 games to send it back. They got to get 1 win tonight to actually get back into this series and not be facing elimination. But if they don't win 2 of 3, the Mariners will be just staying on the West Coast and presumably waiting to find out when Game 1 in LA is, because the Dodgers look unstoppable. Yamamoto last night. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, my favorite name in sports. I don't know how many people on planet Earth have the initials YY. 3-hit complete game last night. First complete game in the postseason since 2017, which is a stunning number. And Yamamoto went 8. Yamamoto went 9. Snell went 8 for the Dodgers out of the gate. So they look basically unstoppable, and they're doing this all without really much from Shohei Ohtani since Game 1 of the Philadelphia series. So I heard someone say that the Mariners and the Jays should just combine their teams to give them a better chance to actually beat the LA Dodgers, who are the clear favorite right now. But no one in Canada is worrying about the Dodgers right now. It's about this game tonight. It'll take place a little bit later on. The Jets did practice today. We'll get more on that coming up with Ken Wiebe when he joins us from Philly. There was no Kyle Connor or Gus Nyquist. I think that was precautionary, just a rest day. And they did get Hayden Fleury and Cole Koepke back on the ice skating as they look to return from some injuries over the last couple games. Taking a look at the Jets lines for Clean Line, the official plumbers of the Winnipeg Jets. You had Tanner Pearson skating with Scheifele and Velarde today. Taves between Iafallo and Chibrikov. Nemetsnikov and Niederreiter. Parker Ford took that spot on the right side. And then Barron in the middle of Koepke and Cale Clegg, who's been called up from the Moose. He just kind of filling that spot on the fourth line. Morrissey and DeMello, Stanley and Pionk, Fleury and Shen, and then Colin Miller skating in as well. We expect Connor Hellebuck to get the start tomorrow night, but we'll talk a little bit more about the lines and how things look today with Ken a little bit later on. Last night in the NHL, Remo, was an interesting one. I hope some people stuck around for my conversation with Jake, because we cooked up some winners in the WST winners in our Coolbet segment yesterday. Leafs got their win last night. And how about Stuart Skinner? The most maligned goaltender in the National Hockey League goes out. I think it was a 35-save shutout, best player on the ice, and the Oilers get a win over the Rangers. Frankly, that, from talking to some of the EST guys, they probably didn't deserve, but they will take. And the New York Rangers are 0-3 at home on the season and have scored a grand total of 0 goals in those games. Can you imagine how brutal that would be to open your season being shut out 3 straight times on home ice?
Stuart Skinner's an interesting goalie. Has just when you think he's terrible, he can't stop a beach ball, he stinks, he comes out and throws up a shutout. And for the New York Rangers, hard not to notice them not being able to score goals. They did have some chances, weren't able to bury. And then you see Chris Kreider, what he's doing with Anaheim, scoring a couple big ones for them. And I'm like, what were the Rangers doing last year? Very puzzling. I don't think their team has a very high ceiling. And there was Chris Kreider in Anaheim. If you're staying up late, they're a very exciting team. That kid line, Mason McTavish, Bennett Seneca, and Cutter Gauthier, very fun to watch. But the Rangers, a team, I think higher expectations, but they got the goaltending. I don't know if they have the depth needed. But how about Chris? You mentioned the Rangers can't score. Chris Kreider last night, 2 goals, 1 assist for 3 points.
Yeah, and as I said, part of that little Coolbet fest at the end, we had a Oilers, Habs, Ducks parlay that got a nice little boost. The Oilers got things done. The Habs had to tie it late and win it in overtime. And then I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to go to bed early. Oh, well, the Pittsburgh-Anaheim game starts at 9:30. It's the home opener for the Ducks. They didn't drop the puck till about 9:45. I had to sweat that one up, and it was a nice win for the Ducks. They were down 2-0 early, and ended up coming back and winning, getting a late goal from, yes, you guessed it, Chris Kreider, and they did get the win. So we'll cook something up for tonight over in the Coolbet segment at the end of the program as well. But let's hear from Scott Arniel, who spoke after practice today. Day off yesterday, as I mentioned. It probably was a well-earned night on the town for the fellas. On Monday night, they get the win early in the afternoon. They know they've got a day off on Tuesday. A couple Monday nighters. You're out with your many new teammates for the first time. So imagine there was some team bonding beforehand. I think more of an official organized team dinner last night. And now it's back to work to get ready for the Philadelphia Flyers. Here's Arnie on just getting back to practice after a win and a day off yesterday in the Big Apple.
You're trying to get yourself going again. There's some things that we talked about, the Islander game, some things that have carried over from the first 3 games. Our play without the puck, rush chances, rush, sort of awareness, who's got who, just work on a couple of those things, and then some coverage stuff. Just seeing some different things some guys maybe haven't seen as much, whether it's teams going 3 high or going with different kind of looks off it, switches that are happening, that are very active like we saw with the Islanders. They're just things that you can't always replicate in practice, but we talked about it and kind of went over and walked over some of that stuff.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel back at work today with the club, and now getting ready for the Philadelphia Flyers tomorrow. And the Flyers so far this year had listen, maybe not a great sign that their young star, Matvei Michkov, apparently came in out of shape and overweight. They had a real tough start to the season, though, with the teams that they were playing. They lost to the Panthers on opening night 2-1, lost to the Hurricanes, also on the road 4-3. Did get one back on Philadelphia for their first win of the season in their home opener, and now they've got the Jets tomorrow night in their 4th game of the season. Here's what Arnie had to say about the Flyers and, of course, their new head coach, former Flyer Rick Tocchet.
I haven't really got into all of that yet, but just starting to do most of that today. But when there's a coaching change, there's always a little bit of a spark. And, Tocc's been, he's a great coach in this league. And, we did in Vancouver. And he brings out the best in people, and I'm sure that there will be subtle changes that we'll see. I know offensively, Toc has lots of ideas and strategies and power play that he has a hand in on those areas as well. So we'll take a good look at it today and see. But I think they're a young group that's with a new head coach that's like you see often. They come out of the gates and they come out good.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel on tomorrow, and because again we'll kind of dive more into Philly. Maybe a little bit with Corrado, but certainly with Ken when he joins us later on. I mentioned this was a good chance for the team to get away on the road. That first road trip, especially when you've got a number of new players, is always important for, bringing the guys into the group off the ice as much as on the ice. And, Tanner Pearson had a real strong game, his first goal as a Jet in the game against the New York Islanders. We've seen Gustav Nyquist get on the scoreboard as well, at least 1 assist through 3 games, and been a big part of a second power play unit that has had a ton of control and zone time. Arniel was asked about just getting some contributions from a couple of the free agent signings in the offseason.
Those guys, it was great the other night. All 4 of them got on the board with JT as well and Cole. So, we talked about our depth being very important, and man, didn't want it to be this quick, but we've had to look at those guys, and other guys have had to step in. So when they can do that and be productive and, help in the offensive side of things, that's all a real good sign.
So, it's funny, Reem, I'm interested in your thoughts on this. Gus, the new Gus, Gustav Nyquist. We'll talk about Gustaf's son, David Gustafsson, who had 2 goals for the Moose in his debut with Dan Fink a little later on. I thought he really stood out to me, actually, as the preseason went on. And, I know there's been a swap of Nemetsnikov and Taves in the middle lines. And, I've had a lot of time, as we put out on socials yesterday, for the play of Jonathan Taves so far. But while he does only have the 1 point, Gustav Nyquist looks like he's going to be a guy that, providing he's a regular and stays in the lineup and stays healthy, I think can, listen, at a part of that second of the scoring that they're going to miss by Nikolai Ehlers. But I've been really impressed by, how that second power play unit has looked with him on it and with his stick on the puck quite a bit.
Yeah, you see that veteran presence of him and Taves calm with the puck, looking, to make a pass. So, it's hard to replace, I think, Ehlers' speed, and I don't know if they're as fast, although Morgan Barron playing an increased role certainly helps that. And you've seen him make a number of plays with speed, but Nyquist, who had over 70 points a couple of years ago, I don't think you can expect him to return to that. But if he can put up 50 for you or in the 40s, I think that would be a big win. And it certainly was a nice signing for the Jets on a 1-year deal, a guy who has offensive talent. A bit of a down year last year, but we've seen a number of players come to the Jets after down years, and they were able to pick their career up. Who do I think of? Kyle Wellwood came here with a huge role and was very big in the inaugural Jets season. That's a big throwback. But there have been, I don't need to reach back that far, I just like to, but there have been other players here that come here and get big opportunity, and it's certainly available here for Nyquist, and we'll see what he continues to make of that opportunity.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Gus's 1 point is more than the former guy, Nikolai Ehlers. Ehlers, despite a strong start for the team, Canes are 3-0 and playing with Aho and Jarvis on the top line, who both have 4 points. Nikolai Ehlers yet to hit the score sheet as a member of the Carolina Hurricanes so far. I'm sure that won't take long. Hopefully he's not saving them all up for November 21st when the Canes are here, which, by the way, is our next WST night. Go to winnipegjets.com/WST to get your tickets for that. You mentioned Morgan Barron. He has been an absolute standout through 3 games, seemingly taking another step from the step that he took when he moved to center at the trade deadline last year. Here's Scott Arniel on just the start that Morgan Barron has had and how many different ways he's helping the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I think that being comfortable in that position, getting a bigger role with Lau being out, whether that's taking D-zone draws, whether that's starting on the penalty kill, but just probably coming out of training camp and having a real good sort of practice sessions playing center. Last year, like I said, he got thrown in at the toughest time of the year after the deadline and did a really good job, and I just think now he's kind of really taking it on, and there's more detail to his game, and he's learning he's learned a lot of those ideas and things that he needs to do each night, and he's been good. And then he's thrown in the offense, which, both have come off the rush, and he's finished them off pretty nicely.
I was going to say, when you have that kind of body, power forward game sort of takes some time to grow into. He's out of trade early in his career.
Yeah.
I mean, do you just see a comfort level
Yeah, probably. I think so. I think that, he knows that the coaching staff has faith in him. I think the other side is that there's one thing being a power forward and playing the walls and playing on the wings. It's another thing being a power forward and playing in the middle of the ice. You have to have good feet as well. You have to be able to be mobile and not just running over people, because you have to defend, and then you also have to get out of the hole. You got to come from our D zone corners, and then you got to get in the rush. You got to get up ice, and he moves well. He does that well, and I like the fact that he's got size defending that. Against some bigger opposition forwards, he does a really good job of using his size on size.
All right. Morgan Barron, I mean, we've talked a lot about him so far, and hopefully those conversations continue because, man, he's looked great. And that finish that he had on that goal going top shelf, that close in on Monday was, phenomenal finish, and not something I think a lot of people associated with Morgan Barron. If you can get, in, you can certainly take the puck to the blue paint. There's no doubt about that. Few more moves like that, we might be talking about Morgan Barron in a very, very different light. One other topic that was covered by the coach today was the brilliant performance of Jet backup Eric Comrie, who steadied the squad after a pretty sketchy start on Monday afternoon and allowed the team to move on and win that hockey game. Here's Arnie on the guy his teammates call Coms.
Say the first 4 minutes of that game, he had to come up large. We were sleepy coming out of the gate. Like I've said to you guys often, usually whoever wakes up first gets the edge. They woke up first, but our goalie was just as awake, so he was fantastic. He made some 10-bell saves early that gave us a chance until Barron scored that goal, and then it's like we finally settled in. So that's all you ask. I talking about the start of the year, just give us a chance each night, and he certainly did that the other night.
I know we talked the other part about the Hellebuck portion, maybe trying to get him under 60. The other part of that would mean Eric gets more work. I mean, how did he receive that news? Or
I think he's pretty excited to get it early. And that's kind of part of coming out of training camp, is that he got a chance to get in early, didn't have to wait quite as long as maybe in the past. And it just kind of lines itself up this way, kind of every 2-3 games, and then he'll go back in. So that's kind of how we're looking at, like I said, the schedule. Because November gets, just like, later on, November gets real busy. So we just wanted more than anything get him up and going early. He had a good camp, so we just trying to build off that. So.
All right, there's Arnie on his winning netminder on Monday. The Eric Comrie, who's now 1-0 on the season, and will look to get Hellebuck back in the net, presumably for the games on Thursday, as well as Saturday when the Jets return home against the Nashville Predators. Frankie Corrado is coming up in just a couple minutes. Was so pumped to welcome Uptown Alley on board with us yesterday for the hockey season. As a guy that grew up in River Heights, I grew up at the original Uptown Alley on Academy. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined the facility that they would put up on St. Matthews later on in life. And as much as there were so many good times in the old days, the new spot is absolutely incredible for literally kids of all ages. Not only do they have 5-pin bowling lanes, they've got 10-pin bowling lanes, and maybe the most amazing collection of games to win tickets and amazing prizes that you'll find, which is why it's one of the number one go-to spots for birthday parties and other fun family events that you can have in the city. It's also a great spot to pop in just with your friends. They've got a great bowl and play special right now, which is the daily deal after 9 p.m. 90 minutes of bowling and a $10 arcade card. It's $20.49 per person for 5-pin bowling, and just a couple extra bucks at $22.49 person for 10-pin bowling. For birthday parties, they've got packages that suit groups of kids, teens, and adults. And you can include bowling, arcade, laser tag, and amazing food, as you can see. That was the one thing that blew me away when we went out to Uptown as a group from TSN, was just how great the food is. And they've taken it up another notch. A great bar there as well. So if you're thinking about, now that Summer's over, you want to get out with the gang, or you're planning an event for families, Uptown Alley, the place to do it. Go to uptownalley.ca for more information or give them a call, 488-0000. You should be able to remember that number. Again, uptownalley.ca. Welcome aboard. Looking forward to working with them and hoping to bring back that special fundraiser we did. We're going to shoot for February, so keep your eyes out for that. Hey, if you're on the move, folks, lean on our friends at Rolly's Transfer to help you get to your next destination and take good care of all your family's precious belongings. Rolly's Transfer has been the leader and the most trusted name in moving and storage in Winnipeg for over 60 years. And of course, they can give you and your belongings the white glove treatment on your next move. If you are planning on moving, head on over to rollies.com. Top right corner, request an estimate. Click on that. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go. The friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in and give you as much peace of mind as possible with everything else that goes in and moving. For all your moving needs, lean on Rollies, the most trusted name in the game for over 60 years. Find out more, request an estimate over at rollies.com. Listen, lots of smiles around Winnipeg after these last couple games for the Winnipeg Jets after that loss in Game 1. I'm going to talk about it with Frankie Corrado and more of the NHL coming up. But if you need to take care of your smile, lean on our pals at St. Vital Dental Center. Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff have been taking care of generations of Manitobans in St. Vital. Now they've got a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's, state-of-the-art equipment, convenient free parking right behind the building, and of course, a full array of dental services for patients from 6 months to 99 plus, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They can do it all. For all your dental needs, St. Vital Dental Center is there for you. Give them a buzz. Go online at stvitaldental.ca. Make an appointment. Say hi to Terry and tell him that your boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And hey, just before we bring in Frankie, we got a big Bomber game on Friday night. I hope they have stocked the Canadian club around the building because it's Bombers and Riders. Friday night in Winnipeg, you know it'll be a party. Looking for another sellout, which would be every game this season. Absolutely incredible. But before the game, you're planning on tailgating or just getting ready for the next month, heading into Grey Cup, head on over to Canadian Club. Of course, CC is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Special Blue Bomber label bottle available now at all your local Manitoba liquor marts, but get it before it is gone. And of course, while you're there, see if you can maybe snag a club pack too. It's not just for summer. The CC and Ginger Citrus Smash, half and half, all available, pre-mixed in cans. Great options for entertaining as well. Canadian Club, check the display at your local Manitoba liquor marts. All right, let's head out to Montreal. Always a treat when the very busy Frankie Corrado joins us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Frankie, thanks so much for doing this. How are you, man? Did you have a happy Thanksgiving?
I'm good, man. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Hope everything's going well. Nice to be back on with you. I know it's been a while. We've been trying to make it work. I'm on the road, so it's always easier to just, be on the road and make some time. So I'm happy to be back on.
I was about to say, just quickly before we talk hockey, how's the family life? Because the year 2025 has brought quite a few changes in the Corrado household. A little busier around there.
Yeah, and the what's crazy? The changes never really stop. You get used to new way of life, 2 kids at the same time. They got to eat every 3 hours, and it's all hands on deck, right? Like I'm trying to work and help out, and now they're a little bit older. They're a year and a half, so that's a different set of challenges. Now it's more like, hey, don't go near the stairs or don't go near that sharp thing in the kitchen. So it's awesome. It's a lot of fun, a lot of work, but everyone's doing well. So thank you for asking. Appreciate that.
Well, it's great to have you back on the program and all the best. And I'm sure there's a lot more work happening when you're on the road that we all think about. You got to have a few extra hands to help out. But, the Jets have needed a few extra hands to help out to begin this season. After such a magical year, winning the President's Trophy, obviously falling short of their goals in the playoffs, this is the team that came into camp feeling that, they were still amongst the best. And then you lose Dylan Sandberg. You lose Cole Perfetti. You already knew that Captain Adam Lowry was going to be out, and it seemed like the depth of this team was really going to be tested early, especially considering that Nikolai Ehlers walked in free agency. The first game got away from them, and it certainly wasn't the Jets' standard defensive play, but we did see a gutsy comeback that I think at least gave people some optimism that the team can still play with a team like Dallas. And then big wins at home against LA, and then on the road against the New York Islanders, where so many of those new players contributed on the score sheet. Just a little thought about, the Jets coming into the season and where they are despite so many missing players after a week.
Listen, the Jets were still going to be a good team this season. Like there's, you're bringing back a first line that was among one of the most dominant in the NHL last year. There's still a lot of the identity players that make up the Winnipeg Jets, even though Adam Lowry, who really embodies that for the group, isn't playing right now. But there's enough there that you could say this is going to be more than just a competitive team. This is going to be a good team. Now, it's a tough Central Division. There's, we know how good Colorado and Dallas are, and St. Louis surely doesn't want to go anywhere. Like Utah wants to take another step. Like there's going to be plenty of teams in that division that are chasing what the Winnipeg Jets are all about. But the fact that other guys are stepping up here, especially, since now we've got even more injuries, like not having Dylan Sandberg and, not having Cole Perfetti. Like there's young guys, there's different guys that have been giving opportunities. There's also veteran guys that have been given opportunities, guys that you brought in like Koepke and Pearson, Nino Niederreiter. I think for a bottom six player really kind of drives home what the identity of that role is for this group. So it's so important that he continues to lead by example, and he does that extremely well. You're right. In game one, that wasn't Winnipeg Jets hockey, but they've clearly gotten to what they are, or what they're supposed to be as a team shortly there afterwards. And I think even, if you look at the LA game, one thing that stands out to me about the Jets is it's defense first, it's offense second. It's not that you don't value it less. It's just that's kind of like the order of operations for the Jets. And so in the LA game, like it just was about calming things down a little bit. And, if you look at second period against LA, there's not much happening other than like a couple one and done rush type of chances, but you still win the game. And then all of a sudden things start to flow for you against the team in the Islanders, who granted are not very good, but anyone can beat anyone in this league on a given night. So the Jets, I think after game one that wasn't really up to their standard, have made strides in the identity category, if you want to call it that, of what their team is supposed to look like.
Frankie, I got to ask you about Jonathan Toews. So much intrigue and interest into his return to the National Hockey League. I believe it had been over 900 days since he'd played a National Hockey League game before the home opener last week. And I think we'd all said on this program, I'd been like, listen, let's just give this 25 games, 40 games to see how it goes. Dude, we're 3 games in, and he's making an impact in every game. I mean, has not scored yet, got his first assist against the Islanders. He was second in ice time of Jet forwards in the game against New York, and was like 75% in the dot on 20 faceoffs. Like, as a guy that played, like, what was your thoughts on how difficult it would be for Toews to return to the National Hockey League from such a time off, and what have you seen so far from what he's doing now as a Jet?
Okay, so a couple things there. There's actually a few things that kind of stick out when you bring up Jonathan Toews. The first thing is I played against him, and he's extremely difficult to play against. He hounds you. Like, he embodies being a worker. Like, it's not skill first. Like, it's will before skill when it comes to Jonathan Toews. So I think that fits in really well with what the Jets are all about. As far as his layoff, like, there's no guarantee that he was going to be able to step in and, stay healthy. Like, that's one question, especially when, your hips, your groins, your knees, your ankles, like you haven't been training at the same kind of resistance that you would have been if you were playing the last couple seasons. So that's one thing. And hopefully he feels good in that regard. But then, like, just there's a difference between being in shape, like Peloton shape, and hockey shape. You know what I mean? Like hockey shape is just different. Like when you're skating every day and then you get into games, your lungs, like it's like they burn a little bit once you start playing in actual games. And like that's not, that's after a summer. Forget about 900 days. That's a totally different story. So the fact that he's doing that and looks as good as he does, it's pretty remarkable. The other thing, watching that game they played against LA, it was such a good reminder seeing him go up against Anze Kopitar that, like, there's guys bigger than him. There's guys stronger than him, probably. There's guys that are more, naturally gifted, but it doesn't mean they were better than Jonathan Toews. Like I'm watching Kopitar, who's huge, he's massive, he's rangy, and Toews is going head to head with him at times, and I'm like, man, that was the old matchup in the playoffs. Chicago, highly skilled team versus LA, big, heavy team. And Chicago won a lot of those matchups, right? Like LA had their success too, don't get me wrong, but like those were great battles. And, and then there's Toews taking the opening face-off, digging in, I think it was against Byfield, just like digging in, veteran savvy, like, dude, this is junkyard dog stuff here. Like I'm gonna show you what it's all about, like playing against me. That's what I got from that. Like big presence, gonna take it from you. And then you watch him play the game and you start to see some of the savvy stuff that he does, like, good support when his line mates need it, trying to, funnel some sharp angle stuff, see if he can surprise a goaltender here and there. It's only like, as long as he stays healthy, it's only going to get better. And he's laid a pretty good foundation considering the fact that he's been off for as long as he has been. And there's no guarantee that it was going to look great, but it's looked pretty good to start.
He seems to have a level of focus and intensity that is special. He's already, in a feud, if you will, with the linesman. And I don't know what is up with the linesman, like, kicking guys out or not wanting to drop the puck, but I kind of got a kick out of that. But, from playing against him, did that stand out on the ice when you were out on the ice with him, that he was just dialed in at another level than most of the other guys in the game?
I remember, I'll never forget this thing where we were playing Chicago. I was playing for Toronto. We were a terrible team, and we were on a road trip. And I remember a puck. So we were on the road. Normally, I probably wouldn't have been on the ice against the Toews line, but we're on the road. It's a bad matchup for us. Puck gets dumped into my corner, and I swear to God, like, I can hear Quenneville yelling from the bench, "Get him, Johnny! Get him, Johnny!" And I'm like, oh shit! Like I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Anyways, I'm like, he's coming. Like that means Toews is coming, and I got to try and do something with this puck. And I'm pretty sure like he like wrapped me up into the corner. Like next thing you know, like the puck's on a Chicago stick. But that's the like that worker gonna hound you mentality that Jonathan Toews had, that was, and still has, that is step one before, the skilled stuff, which obviously has been a big part of his career as well. It's just, he's kind of, that's the way he's wired. Like very focused, very diligent, and always kind of like working at that really high rate.
We're seeing, the way he's helping the team on the ice right now. I guess we probably won't see it very much, but I think there's a ton of intangibles that he'll be able to help this team in the dressing room, on the bench, off the ice as well. And it's exciting to see him, just get back on the ice. This wasn't just a Winnipeg story. This was a National Hockey League story. This guy's walking straight into the Hall of Fame as soon as he is eligible. But that eligibility is going to have to wait, because it's now an extra 5 years because of the time he's now back. Of course, you've got the time off. Elsewhere, did you do the Habs game last night?
Yeah, I did.
So tell us about, it certainly looked like bedlam in there, and the vibe around the Habs seems to be pretty upbeat right now, especially now that this contract business with Hudson's done. And man, 8 years at under $9 million in today's rising cap. I got to give the Habs a lot of credit for the way they've sort of managed this rebuild. And are you buying the Habs this year as a team? I mean, do they have another step to make, or is there still a lot of work to do for them to be able to compete with the top teams?
No, they're right there, man. Like this is the window opening for this team, and it's an exciting time around town. Like there's a serious buzz here, a lot of excitement, and with that deal, that Hudson deal is going to be such a sweetheart deal for the team. And he gets a lot of his signing bonus money up front, so he can find some ways to mitigate his tax obligations. So he'll be okay. But they haven't won anything yet, but they're operating their cap under the guise of a team that has won already. You know what I mean? Like the Florida Panthers won Stanley Cups. Guys took less money because they want to be there. Montreal has basically done that with the hopes of trying to win a Stanley Cup and going far in the playoffs year after year. So it's pretty remarkable that, they've basically got like a core nucleus of 6 guys locked in with the earliest contract expiring in 2030. And that's Nick Suzuki's deal. And it's at $7.8 million, which is you can't even wrap your head around that value based on how good of a player he is. And here's where, if you look at all 6 of those contracts, and I were to tell you, build me a championship team, and this is some of the criteria. Do you have it within those 6 contracts? And you could say, elite two-way center, you have it with Suzuki. Elite goal scorer with Caulfield, guy, very good chance he scores 40 goals this year. You have it. Big body power forward, leads the team in hits and can score 20 to maybe 30 goals. You have it in Slavkovsky. And then the 3 defensemen you have, supremely talented offensive guy in Hudson, another talented offensive guy, but he's going to play huge minutes in Dobson. And then you're like nuts and bolts Caden Gooley, who can play, 22 to 25 minutes a night as well. So every championship team is going to need to have those types of players, and they have it with those 6 guys that are locked up until at the earliest 2030. So I do believe in this team. They are experienced for how young they are. And not to mention, like, Ivan Demidov is only going to get better. Like, he's 20 years old. So there's a lot to like about this group, and the optimism is not it's not like not in the wrong place. It should be there for this group.
Frankie Corrado is with us. Just while we're talking Habs, the one guy that doesn't seem to get mentioned in the Habs core, who is in a contract year, is Patrick Laine. I'm looking last night. He played by far the least of any Hab forward. He had less than 9 minutes of even strength time. He was in the power play for 2 minutes. Where's Laine at right now?
Laine's, you can see the intent. Like the intent is there for Laine to show that he's more than just, a one-timer on the power play. Like there's a couple moments last night where I'm watching him play, and he's the first forward back into his own zone, and he's got to support his defenseman and give him credit. Like, he did it. He's trying to play hockey. He's not trying to play, I just want to score a goal. So I really cannot fault his intention there. We might just be at the point where, does he have that extra gear that he used to have, when he would really transport the puck? I don't see that the way he did it in the early going of his career. There are a few opportunities last night where he kind of flubs the one-timer on the power play. But at the same time, Montreal doesn't tie that game up last night. If Laine tries to blast a one-timer from a sharp angle, instead he holds on to the puck, he makes a pass to Demidov, and he beats Joey Decord, and you're like, that's a great play. Like, that is a really smart play from a guy who's probably more inclined to shoot it. He made the right play. So I know there's, if you hadn't been watching, or you just see a clip here and a clip there, it would be easy to be critical about his game and where it's at. But I kind of see like the intent is there for him to do things the right way. He stays healthy this season. Who knows? Maybe like it all comes around for him at the right time. But I think, long term, we'll see what happens if he's included in this core group of players or not. But I think he's trying to do things the right way. Like I can tell he's trying to buy into the team philosophy, and you really have no choice when these are the guys that are around you. They're all in and they're all bought in. So he's trying to do that as well.
Frankie, I know you got to go in just a minute on the way out. You mentioned you played on a couple teams that weren't so good over your career at times. Man, it's been ugly in Buffalo. They start off 0-3. Is this a must-win for them tonight against the Ottawa Senators? I mean, how bad could this get early for a team that has done nothing in 14 seasons?
It's pretty crazy because you're right. Like it's early in the year. We're a week in, so it's 3 games.
Played 3 games,
but it's 3 games plus 14 years, right? So that's where the scar tissue.
Weighing on every guy in that room.
100%. Here's where Buffalo has not followed through on what they should have. Team building. They've drafted all these great players over the years. They've traded for guys over the years. Whether it's like Ryan O'Reilly or Jack Eichel or Sam Reinhart, Brandon Montour, Linus Allmark, Evan Rodriguez, all these guys, good players. They went and had success elsewhere. Why did they have success elsewhere? Because they played on teams. They didn't play in other situations where they were asked to do, be the savior, or you've got to right the ship. And it's like, well, now Buffalo's got good players. They've got Tage Thompson. They've got 2 first overall picks on the back end. But have they assembled a team, or is it just a bunch of players who could be good? Like the history lesson would tell us that they've drafted and acquired solid players, but haven't put a team around them to be successful in Buffalo. And that's a huge issue. So what happens if they lose tonight? I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but there's no quick fix for what's gone on there. Like this is, it's hard to pinpoint just one thing. It is a whole process, and it feels like, whatever has gone on there is not going to be undone with like a year or 2 of grunt work. So they still have good players now. Some of them anyways, like they've had in the past. They have to figure out, like, are we ever going to build this thing into a team and a program, or are we just going to keep acquiring, good young players? Like even if they tank this year, and it wouldn't be intentional, but they're just bad, and they draft Gavin McKenna. So that's the next guy that you're going to pin as, well, this guy's going to turn us around. No, it's not fair to the kid. You can't do that. You got to build a good team around the kid, just like all the other players that moved on went to good teams. So it's not just one thing. If it continues to go south for Buffalo, I mean, they'll have to make some tough decisions. And here's another one for you on the way out. Like, you could always hang on to a little bit of hope in the sense that, like last year they were the 4th best team at scoring goals at 5-on-5. Okay. Now this year they've only scored 2 goals through 3 games. And you could still hold on to, well, we got some pieces, right? Like Dahlin, Power, Thompson, Tuck. Well, what happens if those guys start to say, I'm done here? Like, you think Alex Tuck's going to re-sign there? Like, what if your big boys want out? It's bad, and it could actually get worse, which is crazy to think about given the way the last 14 years have gone.
No doubt about it. Listen, really appreciate you jumping on today. I know you're in Montreal. Do what you got to do. Grab a poutine. Keep up the great work on TSN. We'll look forward to doing this again sometime later on this season. Appreciate you, buddy. Have a great one.
Okay, man. Nice catching up, and thanks for having me on. We'll see you soon.
Our pleasure. There's Frankie Corrado. You can check him on TSN. That's hockey. Great addition to the Overdrive crew. Always having fun with those guys. Lots of fun with Frank on the program today. I'm going to get right into fan feedback brought to you by Fans First. Your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where with no fees, what you see when you go to Fans First is exactly and only what you will pay. Nothing on top of it, unlike most of the other ticket resale sites. And don't forget, Bomber tickets also available on Fans First, in addition to Winnipeg Jets as well. Great spot if you got extra tickets to sell as well. A bunch of comments about what we were just getting to with the Habs and the Buffalo Sabres. And, Issue Boy Bruce, Sabres obviously need new ownership. The club is essentially a tax write-off, and that's it. Very unfortunate. But Scott Westman says, isn't it the same owner who owns the Bills as well? Absolutely. What the Bills have done is that they've gone and gotten a management group that is competent. I mean, listen, when they made the last general manager change and took Kevin from accounting and made him the GM, and this is now going on 5 years without any results. I mean, at a certain point, there is something to the old adage, you get what you pay for. And listen, they believed in Lindy Ruff. He's a guy that had a lot of juice with Sabres fans because, he was the coach back when they were actually a legitimate NHL club. He hasn't been able to turn this thing around as well. And I mean, I say this, that Buffalo needs to win tonight. I kind of think that they will. They have had some good success against Ottawa. Brady Tkachuk is out tonight. But if they lose to the Senators on home ice and go 0-4 right out of the gate, I wouldn't be surprised if, and maybe Lindy Ruff stays, but Kevin Adams gets punted. We know Jarmo Kekalainen, who's a senior advisor, is there waiting in the wings. Now, whether Jarmo's the guy to turn this around, I'm not here to tell you yes on that. But it's such an ugly start, and I got a lot of, even though I'm a Chiefs guy and you know that the big rival is the Bills, I have a lot of love for Buffalo fans. They are so passionate. They are so faithful, and they have been broken by their hockey team. And it's sad. And that team needs to get legitimate. They need to get some respect. And I'll tell you what, when the Sabres do eventually, whenever in the future that is, make the playoffs, those fans will have earned every minute of the playoff action because it's very sad right now. Waiter says, Darlene wasting his career. Save him. Jay Miller, Adams should have been gone 2 years ago. And then MC Stormy, well, let's just pick the carcass. Hey, get Tuck and Owen Power, LFG Chevy. And listen, someone also asking us, Scott, how could Buffalo not be the top of the no trade list? Well, they pretty much sure are. And then a lot of, positive things about Laine. MC Stormy, Laine, when he does pass, is a wizard. Fader says he keeps fanning on one-timers. It might be over the hill already. And a lot of people saying, we're just hoping that Laine can, get back to anything close to where he was with the Winnipeg Jets because it's far off right now and it's crazy. The guy's like a fourth liner and a power play specialist, and I don't think any of us thought that was possible when he was playing. That is fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets. By fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today over at fansfirst.ca. Ken's going to come on in a couple of minutes. But I'll tell you what, this is a great time to get up and get into our NHL Power Poll brought to you by Chud's Power Sports, the premier power sports superstore in the province of Manitoba. Find them at Gimli, corner of Highway 8 and 231. And check them out online at chudspowersports.com for the best in everything power sports. Here we go with the power poll. Coming in at number 5 is the Edmonton Oilers. They haven't looked particularly good doing it, but they haven't lost in regulation yet. They've got 5 out of a possible 6 points. They got McDavid. They've got Draisaitl. They went to the Cup the last 2 years. Until anything changes, they're going to be on this list. They're in the top 5 at 5. The team that beat them in the Cup is the Florida Panthers. The Panthers 3-1. They haven't really played anybody. They did lose to Philly, but considering they're doing it without Tkachuk, without Barkov, they deserve to be in the power poll. They're still at number 4. Number 3, and I'm not sure this isn't the scariest team in the league, but they do have a blemish on their record. It's the Colorado Avalanche. They're 3-0-1 through 4 games right now. I've watched a good portion of 2 of their games. They're going to be a problem for a lot of teams this year. McKinnon, Makar, Nakash in a contract year. He's had a great start. Colorado's the number 3 team. Number 2, despite getting nothing so far from Nikolai Ehlers, it's the Carolina Hurricanes. They came in as one of the Stanley Cup favorites. All they've done is just go about their business and win 3 games. They're number 2 as an undefeated team because the Dallas Stars are number 1, and the Stars get it on account of a perfect, unblemished record, and wins against good teams. Winnipeg being one of them in Winnipeg. We were all there. We all saw that, and took care of the Minnesota Wild last night as well. So the Dallas Stars, number one for this week's NHL Power Poll, brought to you by Chud's Power Sports, the Power Sports Superstore. Check them out, chudspowersports.com, out in Gimli. And make sure to check out truenorthparts.ca as well for some amazing clearance deals on gear and accessories for all your gearheads as well. And don't forget, Chuds has all the parts you need as well, with the biggest parts department around and people to help you get what you need. If you're thinking about snowmobile season, or you're still out on quads or bikes, Chuds has it all, and an amazing staff with decades of experience to help you there. Shout out Derminator and everyone over at Chud's Power Sports. All right, Ken's going to join us in just a minute. Do want to remind you all that CFL 110 coming up at 3:15. We're back at Princess Auto Stadium on Friday. Bombers, Riders. Bombers cannot officially clinch a playoff spot, but all but guarantee themselves a spot in the postseason dance. Whether that's a crossover or in the West, we'll find out. Princess Auto is the home of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And, of course, Princess Auto, synonymous with Winnipeg, headquartered and founded right here in the Peg, and now coast to coast, but with 3 Manitoba locations to serve you, where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the project on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them in store today, or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. It was a happy Thanksgiving for all of you, I hope. And now it is an even more happy Thanksgiving for people that need batteries, because Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery are doing their Thanksgiving Customer Appreciation Week, which is on now through October 18th. Thanks for keeping it local. Thanks for trusting Manitoba Battery to keep your vehicles running and help Manitoba Battery grow. They're celebrating by putting all automotive batteries at just $99. Plus, they've got giveaways, prizes, and games all week long, and your chance to win a $500 Visa gift card. So pop down and see the team at Manitoba Battery, North or South locations, where gratitude powers everything they do. Manitoba Battery, powering what matters most. You can also check them out online at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's fire it up. Head out to the city of brotherly love, where my man Ken Wiebe joins us now. Ken, fresh off of practice, I believe, has muted himself. Now we are no longer muted, and Ken is prepared to join us on the program. How are you doing? How's the trip been?
Yeah, right on. Excellent, Huss, so far. Great to be with you. We had a lot of rain in New York. Coastal flooding threatening the outside joy levels, but yeah, a really good overall. Beautiful day in Philadelphia here. Jets skated this morning. Nothing really too crazy to report. Cole Koepke and Hayden Fleury both on the ice, but still considered day-to-day. We'll see if they'll be ready to roll, or if Parker Ford might be making his season debut up front.
Where was Kyle Connor and Gustav Nyquist, Ken?
Yes, maintenance is all we got on that front from Scott Arniel. So I would imagine both of them will be ready to roll. But yeah, I mean, Scott Arniel said it last week. He said he didn't want the young guys sitting too long either. So, I mean, it's a natural opportunity to get Parker Ford in, even if Cole Koepke is maybe, he's a little bit moving a little bit gingerly out there. Maybe he's not quite 100%. And if that's the case, maybe you just throw Parker Ford on that fourth line with Morgan Barron and Tanner Pearson and kind of roll from there. I would imagine Kyle is going to be good to go, and Nyquist will play also. And then just the big question, or not big, I mean, the question would be if Hayden Fleury is ready to roll. And he was paired with Luke Shen today. So, I mean, that looked like a tell as to what the third pairing might look like. Again, see how the guys feel after, there'll be a morning skate where we'll get a few more clues. But yeah, I mean, nothing earth-shattering on the lineup front, I don't think. And Connor Hellebuyck will be back after. I mean, I shouldn't call it a surprise start for Eric Comrie based on the fact that the head coach wants to get the workload for Connor Hellebuyck below 60 games. Well, the best way to do that, Huss, is to play him before Game 5. So I guess we should have maybe seen it coming, but we just thought that with the 2-day break between games, you could probably roll out Hellebuck for the first 4 and then just give Comrie the start against Nashville. But Jets went the other way, and Eric Comrie had to be sharp, Huss. I mean, one-timer from Barzell 4.5 seconds into the game.
That was nuts. Guys, hello, ding dong, the puck is dropped.
3 scoring chances in the first 27 seconds. That was a little bit of, I was joking with Eric Comrie today, Huss. I said, they didn't exactly give you a chance to tiptoe into that one. I said it was more like a cannonball, but to be honest, Huss, it could have been a belly flop, to be honest. If one of those 3 goes in, even though clearly the Jets were sleeping out of the wheel, I mean, Comrie said it himself, as a backup goalie, you don't want to give one up in the first minute. Now all of a sudden, team is chasing the game. So, he did his part to make sure that the Jets were able to get their legs underneath them and build a 2-0 lead. And I thought he was just exceptional in the game. And yeah, I mean, we get it. This is sort of like pitching in the majors, Huss, a couple of years ago. I think when Felix Hernandez won the Cy Young with a below average record. Sometimes the record has nothing to do with the performance. I mean, there's a guy who had a .914 save percentage last year and, got off to an exceptional start this year, that 5-2 win on the Monday afternoon matinee.
Yeah, it's funny. You just bring that up. And I mean, I wasn't really thinking about who was going to start in goal. I mean, I guess that there was so much going on that weekend in between the 2 hockey games. You just sort of get there, turn the TV on, and oh, wow, okay, Comrie's going. It does sort of make sense that, you tee this up. And I mean, I think I kind of see Helly playing tomorrow and playing that Saturday game, and then potentially Friday against Calgary. Then you've got back-to-backs at home, Seattle and Calgary.
Right.
And then 2 more games next week. In divisional games, you'd probably see Hellebuck in the Utah and Minnesota game. And then maybe Eric gets either Chicago on the Thursday or maybe that afternoon game against the Pittsburgh Penguins on the 2nd of November. So, I mean, listen, for people that, me, like I'm not one of the people that's really concerned if Hellebuck plays 64 games or 62 games or 58. I'm usually... a proponent of playing your best guys, and as I say, I'll need to be convinced that that's the reason why he maybe hasn't been his best later on. But I'll tell you what, if Eric Comrie can go out with the types of performance that he put forth against the New York Islanders, it's going to earn more time, and it's going to allow them to do exactly what they did in the situation that they didn't have to go to their backup, feel very good about doing that. And I mean, we don't need to talk about how popular he is amongst his teammates, the fans, the coaching staff, but, a great start for Comrie, and I think that is big for the Winnipeg Jets. I thought he proved himself last year as a very competent backup for anyone that wasn't convinced. Hell of a way to get going with the new season.
Yeah, no doubt. And Huss, I mean, it'll be interesting. We're used to the backup only getting in every 4 or 5 starts. I mean, Scott Arniel, when I asked him today about Comrie, he's like, yeah, it'll probably be every 3. I mean, the odd time it's going to be 4. Like, he just laid out the schedule. There might be times where he has to wait for the 4th game. But yeah, he's going to be getting, I mean, the only way to keep the goalie under 60 is if you give the other guy, I'm not great at math here, Huss, but he's going to need at least 23 to 26 starts. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you to a degree in terms of Hellebuck. I don't think it's a massive overuse issue that's led to some of the playoff, ups and downs, if you will. But what I would say, Huss, is that we don't have any evidence to suggest what that 55 start Hellebuck can look like. And considering, he's 32, turning 33 this year, I just think that the Jets owe it to themselves to find out if it would make a difference. Now, again, that can't come at the expense of, the backup has to be playing great in order to do that. And Eric Comrie took the first step on that front the other day. And B, I mean, Hellebuck's going to have to stay healthy and, continue to get his workload up. But to me, I do think, again, I'm not saying it has to be 50 starts, but I think it'll be closer to, 56 than 60, if you will. But man, I mean, as soon as Scott Arniel said he'd like to keep him under 60, in my head, I'm like, well, Hellebuck's going to say then I have to have 59, right? That's just the way that he's wired. So I think the bigger thing is the Olympic starts, Huss. We saw it in the 4 Nations, but that was really only that was 3 extra starts for Hellebuck. So that still got his volume up to the mid 60s. So if he's in the 54 to 56 range, and even if he gets 5 starts at the Olympics, there's one back-to-back in there. And again, assuming Hellebuyck's number 1, which we do expect to be the case, Ottinger will get at least one of those back-to-back starts. Maybe he gets one other one in there. So it's, probably 5 or 6 starts at the most for Hellebuyck at the Olympics. So I don't think it's 50 starts with the Jets, but I do think it could be 54 or 56. Now probably leaning towards 56.
What's the Jennings eligibility again? The goalie has to play 25 games? Is that
I
right?
think it was 25, right? So we've seen that 2 years in a row. So Comrie was 22 starts, 23 games last year.
So, okay. You know what? I
don't even think it's for that, Huss, but I do think that, again, that would be a bonus for them.
I would like that. Let's just say that whether it starts or any relief duties, let's give them the 25. They can go out and try and win another Jennings together, get Eric's name on that trophy, and Hellebuyck will be ready to go for it. There's a number of things that we could talk about with the Jets. I'll be honest. I talked about this a lot yesterday already with Frankie Corrado. Jonathan Toews. I won't editorialize it. What have you seen? Your thoughts before the start of the season? What have you seen? And you were there. I mean, I loved this game against the Islanders, but you've been in the building. I mean, thoughts on the first 3 games of this comeback and his place within the Jets lineup?
Yeah, Huss, I mean, it was a day off yesterday for the Jets, or off day for them. So, I mean, topics were limited with no access. But, man, I mean, I wrote about Jonathan Toews in today's pages and online at winnipegfreepress.com. And for good reason, Huss. I mean, we've been talking about the story for months now, but we're starting to peel back some of the layers, and some of the unknowns and the unpredictability of where his game was going to be at are definitely evolving before our eyes here. Again, I'm not saying it was 2020 Toews on Monday, but it was pretty damn close to it, Huss. What we saw was a guy who absolutely owned the face-off circle, was winning a ton of one-on-one battles. We've talked about this before. If you're Scott Arniel and you're looking on the bench and protecting a 1 or 2 goal lead, and you see number 19 in front of you, there's going to be temptation to say, hey, take this draw. Hey, get on the ice, be the second centerman. Hey, go out on the wing. Hey, kill that penalty.
Exactly what he did in game 3.
Get on the power play. I mean, let's just put it this way. I thought the Toews looked spectacular in the game, and I'm not overstating it. I mean, I did not have Jonathan Toews at 19:20 and Mark Scheifele at 17:30 on my bingo card for game 3 of an NHL season. And again, that's not to suggest I didn't think that Scheifele's game was poor the other day by any stretch. It's just that Toews was going. It was one of those games where, you ride your horses. And even though this horse is coming back after a 2.5 year absence, he still knows what he's doing out there. I thought all 3 of the games, you could see the hockey sense. I mean, Jonathan admitted to Stephen Wino and I after the game when we were speaking with him in the scrum that in the first couple of games, there were instances when he looked tired at the end of shifts because he wasn't letting the play come to him. He was overexerting himself either on the forecheck or in a puck battle. And I just thought that he let the game come to him while also dictating part of the play. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, Huss, but he found the sweet spot between when to jump and when to kind of let the game come to him. I thought just as simple. It's been so much about the subtleties to Toews' game, Huss, and no better example than the Niederreiter power play goal. Yes, it's Gustav Nyquist making the nice backdoor pass to him, allowing Niederreiter to bank it in off the back of Sorokin. But that play doesn't happen if Jonathan Toews doesn't win a one-on-one battle and lean on the stick of Adam Pelech and steal the puck from him on a puck that would have been cleared out of the zone. So I've loved the way that he's, found space for himself and others on the second power play unit, which is really clicking well, Huss. We talked about it last week already. That second unit's been really doing a nice job of generating opportunities. They've had lots of extended zone time. Again, Toews absolutely dominant in the face-off circle. I like the fact that he was out there killing some late penalties. Now, some of that had to do with personnel and Kepke being out, but part of it just winning draws and things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, for the folks who were thinking, oh, Jonathan Toews is washed, what is he doing in this comeback attempt? He's here to tell you that the gas tank still has plenty left in it. And again, has small sample size season. Don't overreact to good, bad, or indifferent. But if you're Jonathan Toews, you are feeling very encouraged about where your body's feeling through 3 games. And if you're the Jets, you're thinking, all those people that said, oh, there's no chance he can handle the second line center role. Those folks, I don't believe they've had a lot of ammunition through the first 3 games of the season. I don't know what your inbox is like, but I'm certainly not getting a lot of those messages quite yet.
No. And listen, I mean, I don't even know if he's on the second line. I mean, I know there's been sort of a switch up and, he's playing with Iafallo right now.
I mean, by minutes, he's like, this is the debate we had with Lowry. I mean, right now, Toews is on the second line based on usage.
Exactly. And here, it was funny because we were going through the ice time yesterday of the game. And the way that I kind of see this, Ken, is that when the Jets play games like they did on Monday, where they're able to get a lead, I think those are the games that we're going to see Jonathan Toews' ice time significantly go up. Now, all of a sudden, if he hits a real hot offensive streak and he's scoring like the other guys, then maybe that'll be a constant. But it's very clear that in only 9 periods of hockey, the coaching staff has the utmost trust that this team is better with him on the ice when they've got a lead. And that's why we saw Toews skating with other players and certainly taking a ton of draws to a great success. And would you sort of agree on that? Like, he's going to be a guy that will be played, especially when they are not necessarily needing to score, but needing to hold leads and making the Jets an even better defensive team.
Well, and if we even saw Toews was the 6th attacker in the 6-on-5 and the 6-on-4 against Dallas also, Huss. I mean, so you are going to see him used in those scenarios too. But I mean, like I said, I talked about the temptation that Scott Arniel is going to have. I mean, sometimes the temptation might be to immediate, and I've been getting tons of these messages also. Oh, put Toews on the first unit, put him on the first unit in the pop position where Alex Iafallo is. Now, Alex Iafallo scored shortly thereafter. I got one of those messages, but I do think that because of his elite hockey IQ and vision and ability to get the puck into areas that make your line mates and power play mates better, we might see it before Cole Perfetti returns to action. But we also know that the second unit is really going. So if you're Davis Payne, you don't necessarily want to break up what's really working well with that second unit either. So Huster, bang on. I mean, this is a guy that, again, I think the only reason why he hasn't been used in the penalty kill a little bit more is because Scott Arniel doesn't want to put too much on the plate too soon, right? You don't want to threaten some early season burnout. But again, Jonathan Toews put in the work as long as his body holds up. And again, we know there's no playbook coming back from the autoimmune and the long COVID stuff. So there are going to be some unknowns that pop up during the course of the year. But right now, you can easily see that Jonathan has put in the work necessary to combat any of those things as best that he can. So, yeah, I mean, we were curious. Would it be a 14-minute player at the beginning? Would it be 16? Now, he's been used over 18 and over 19 on 2 different occasions. So, and he's held up pretty well. So I do think that he's only going to get better and better. But, yeah, I mean, there's going to be hiccups still along the journey. But again, this is a guy who is no stranger to adversity, and he's the kind of guy that is a problem solver. So I don't expect him to have long stretches of unproductive stretches of hockey. I mean, that's just not the way that he's wired. He's smart enough that he's also getting looks for himself, but he's also creating some really good looks for the guys who are playing with him, and I expect that to continue just because of the hockey smarts. And he's always in the right position, Huss, it feels like. And that's something that you don't teach that, and you don't lose it. I mean, I'm not saying it's as easy as just riding the bike, the old cliche. But Jonathan is getting to the right spots on the ice, and that's got to be encouraging for him as a player also.
Yeah, I said yesterday, I'm buying all this Toews stock that I can get. I wanted to, come in with couched expectations because of everything. And we said, hey, listen, let's not make any judgments or anything for the first 25 games. We'll see how things go. I had no doubt that he'd be in good shape. I guess this is the last year of the fitness testing. I did hear from somebody that within the team that he was on the top of the list at the end of that, coming in and making a pretty good impression right away. Not that you'd expect any different.
Yeah, but not bad for 37, though.
Listen, to go in and listen, it speaks for itself. And I knew that. I mean, obviously Glenn Carnegie's a Winnipeg guy. I'd been spending a lot of time training him in the offseason throughout this comeback. So, I mean, listen, there was no doubt that he was going to come in and do everything he could to be a player. But, you know, the expectations are high. His standard is so high. This is way beyond what I expected or hoped for in the first 3 games. And, you know, if this is what is a sign of more is to come, this could be an even more impactful signing on the ice than I think people maybe thought of when it happened earlier on this year.
And the other part of that too, Huss, I mean, I've mentioned this. I mean, this isn't necessarily a one and done for Jonathan. I think that he wants to play more than 1 year as long as his body allows him to do that. And if that is the case, and it continues to go well in his hometown, that if he plays at this level, that's going to help widen that window, the competitive window for for a couple extra years as well. When you have these guys in their, you know, either primes or prime of their contracts. So. That's another thing that we're going to be keeping tabs on as well. And again, I know that as long as he's healthy, he wants to play more than 1 year. And if that's the case, that's probably good news for Jets fans and Jets players.
I did have somebody say to me, and I'm going to say this right now because even I laughed when he said it before the season. But he goes, just watch. We're going to get to the end of November, December. And people are going to start talking about, should Team Canada start potentially looking at Jonathan Toews? Now, I'm not here to say that that's happening right now, but I will just mention that because he showed the things that he can bring to a team. And that team's not going to need extra scoring or anything like that. A very unique player that knows how to win as much as anyone and does a lot of the things that, frankly, the top superstars in the league maybe don't have in their bag. So I'll just throw that out there. And we'll see whether that's a topic that we hear anything above in a couple of weeks. Other side of things, listen, there's a lot of things that have been going well over these last couple of games. What have you made of the Niederreiter, Nemestikov, Nyquist line? I think they had a big bounce back, I guess is the best way to say it, in the game on Monday as opposed to the game against the Kings.
Yeah, it needed more out of that line. Again, small sample, you don't want to overreact or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I just mean that you also didn't want to overreact with the slow start. But yeah, I was kind of thinking that Niederreiter needed to be a little bit more noticeable. Now, would say this, Huss, he did have 4 hits in that Kings game. So I liked his game better in game 2 than game 1. And then obviously, naturally, in game 3, he gets a goal and an assist. But, just pretty active in the game. And again, bank shot on the goal, but he made a really smart pass to Tanner Pearson and Huss. Quite frankly, how the hell was that not a penalty before the goal? How does the ref not have his arm up? Like when he went around to the backhand side, that was clearly hooking on D'Angelo. I mean, it couldn't have been more obvious. Now it doesn't matter because the goal happens, but if that pass doesn't get to the front of the net and the refs look at each other, both of them like, well, were you going to call that or no? Oh, no, you not, no, not me either. Oh, crap. Oh, whoops. Like it was a weird play overall, but yeah, I mean, Nemestikov, I don't think is found his peak yet, Huss, but again, it's early on and I'm not concerned about Nemestikov's game. I mean, Nemestikov can be up on the second line. He could be down on the fourth line. He could be in the middle on the third line. He could be on the wing. He could be at center. He could be killing penalties. He could be on the second power play. He's going to find his game. But how many points is that? I mean, last year he had, I think, 38. Now playing with Nikolai Ehlers maybe had something to do with that. But I mean, Nemestikov is a double-digit goal scorer that's going to be effective and get under your skin and also give you some skilled plays too. But yeah, I think he needed to be a little bit better. But I do think that line was better in Game 3, and as they move along, I would expect them to get even more effective.
Let me hear this, and I'll put this out to the chat as well. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray. Hit the guys up, by the way, for their winter tire program right now and get that done before the snow flies. Right now, the centers on this team are Mark Scheifele, Jonathan Toews, Vlad Nemestikov, Morgan Barron. Morgan Barron has been phenomenal so far this year. Let's just say that this is November. Things are as they are right now. Adam Lowry's returning to the lineup. Who is no longer playing center for the Winnipeg Jets? Who gets moved? Is it Vlad or is it Morgan Barron?
Yeah, I mean that depends on where you're playing Morgan Barron. I mean, I've been making the case for this for months now also. I think you could easily make the case that Morgan Barron could be playing alongside Lowry on that checking plus line. Whether that has Niederreiter on it or Iafallo on it or whoever you want to play on it, I could see a scenario where that is happening. Now, Huss, I wouldn't think they do this, but if for some reason playing on the wing is helpful for a return from a hip issue. Now, again, I'm not saying that it would be, but I'm just going to use this as an example because remember when we talked with Gabe Velarde last year when he was playing center, he talked about how hard taking the draws and like getting down in that crouch position was on his hips. So if that's the case, maybe you ease Lowry back in on the wall and keep Morgan Barron at center. You move him up to the third line center role with Lowry and maybe Niederreiter or Iafallo. I could see that scenario. But again, Adam Lowry's a center. He plays the defensive positions there and he does so very well. So first of all, it would depend on what Scott Arniel is looking for. He loves Morgan Barron in that fourth line center role. So
do I.
That's probably the most likely place for him, even though you could make the case for him to move up in the lineup. I would say it's probably going to be Nemestikov moving onto the wall rather than center. But again, he's done that over the course of his career. He'll play anywhere. He can play the right. He can play the left side. He can play center. So my vote is going to be for Nemestikov, though the caveat is you could use Barron in that job. And it's interesting, Huss. I mean, I'm writing about Morgan Barron today, naturally, with the great start. I spoke to his college coach from Cornell just now, and he's off to a great start. Barron was very much it's nice, but hey, it's 3 games in and whatever else. But you're seeing a little bit more flash of skill on display. And this is a guy who is, prototypical late bloomer, has more to give. And, Rick Bowness said a couple of years ago, I remember him saying it. I mean, he thought he could be, 15, 20 goal guy. Now it's tough to do from the fourth line. That's why I say if he gets that opportunity with Lowry, I could easily see a scenario where Morgan is, pushing for 14 to 16 like Brandon Tanev did that year before he cashed in with the Pittsburgh Penguins. But again, all those things are going to unfold. But, depth was being tested, and there were some questions going into the year. But right now, center looks like a position of strength, not only with the Jets, but like organizationally with bringing Braden Yager into the mix here as a first-year pro, scoring on his first shift with the Moose.
I went to the home opener. We're going to talk to Dan Fink
Huss.
actually coming up next. It was nice, beautiful dish from Barlow.
Right.
That Moose team is going to be some fun to watch this year. Hey, just non-Jets topic, but you were at the game.
Yep.
How good was Schaefer in person? Because, wow,
buddy.
He played 8 or 9 minutes more than any other defenseman on the team. He's 18, has been in the league for a week.
Yeah, it's super interesting, Huss. I mean, I was looking forward to watching him because, you hear about the hype and, we only got such a small, glimpse at the World Junior before the injury. So, yeah, I mean, I loved watching him. He was very exciting to watch. I was, again, naturally, that these guys are going to be, filling up the highlight reel with their offensive skill. I actually like the way that he defended for the most part. Of course, there are going to be hiccups. It's not as, he's an offense first defenseman, but he also took care of his own end fairly well for someone who's 18 years old. Skates like the wind, super fun to watch. And yeah, I mean, he got high praise from Scott Arniel when he said, he just basically admitted that, I just told Kevin Cheveldayoff and the management team, I'm sure glad this guy's in the East and you only have to see him twice instead of, 4 or 5 times. I mean, the kid was spectacular, Huss, explosive. I mean, he had 4 shots on net, but 8 or 12 shot attempts in the game, but like not riverboat gambler style. We're not talking about, vintage roaming charges with Dustin Byfuglien. He knew when to get involved in the attack and as the second wave, and occasionally he was leading the rush. So, but it didn't come at the expense of defending. I really like that part of his game. He's going to be exciting to watch. Incredible kid. From talking to some of the Islanders writers and folks that are around. Spoke with Ryan Bonus, who's now an assistant GM there for Matthew Darsh. Just said he's the real deal. Like just a great human being. Exquisite talent, and yeah, man, I loved watching him play. And again, I don't think he's on the Olympic team, Huss, but I'll be shocked if he's not in the World Cup or whatever they're going to be calling it next time around 2 years from now. I could easily see him in that role as a 6th or 7th defenseman. And again, folks in Edmonton may not like it, but like this is a kid that already defends better than Evan Bouchard, and he's been in the league for five minutes. So I mean. And again, that's not Bouchard is an exceptional offensively talented defenseman
with no points.
Well,
mean,
Sorry,
a week.
I should say
It's a week.
playoff Bouchard, high point guy, as you know. But again, you got to do some of those other things. And Schaefer was, just fun to watch. Like that's the best way I can put it. The old worth the price of admission is something that gets tossed around a lot, but legit for him. I mean, Scott O'Neill basically described his skating ability and impact similar to Cale Makar, which raised a few eyebrows. But this was not, this was not gross exaggeration.
No, listen, it was, as I said, I was surprised that there wasn't more hype going into this season. And I would just say that because I was able to get him the day before the regular season started at 17-1 to win the Calder. And then people actually saw him play, and he's now 4-1.
I'm a little. I've got some regrets for my Ivan Demidov pick. With all due respect to Demidov, who is a very fun player to watch.
Hey, we got to run, but less than a minute. Your feeling for Game 3 tonight? Can they got to win a game? Can they? Got to
be a gem from Bieber, Huss, and wake up territory for the Blue Jays bats. I've sent a few T-shirts down to Seattle,
water bottle
to T-Mobile. Yeah, we definitely sent a few wake up T-shirts. Let's put it this way. I heard Dan Schulman say it out loud. When, 5 of the 8 hits have been produced by Springer and Lucas, no surprise there. One of those 8 hits has come after the 3rd inning. And I'm here to tell you that even if you get a solo shot out of George Springer on the first pitch of the game, hard to win if you don't score after the 2nd inning. It's makes it awfully difficult. So, and I hate to see it because I enjoyed watching it at the time, but after the old Yankees lose from Vladdy and Big Poppy, 0-for-7 does not look quite as good. So I'd like to see that get turned around because, as maybe I didn't tell you, but have a refundable plane ticket for Game 6 and 7. So I'm hoping there's a Game 6. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, well, I knew we were trying to hunt down some tickets, so I figured that you had a way to get there.
We have 7, but we don't have 6 yet. But the pricing's a little different after the first 2 games than it was after going into the series.
Good call on that. And it's a good time to have faith and buy. Hopefully they can get it done tonight. Hey, you have a great one, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me. Have a great weekend when it arrives, my friend. Take care.
Good stuff. And of course, K&R tomorrow. Not one of these late. They're gonna need some serious sleep pills or something in November when the team goes to the West Coast for like 2 weeks during Grey Cup. But it's a 6:00 game tomorrow. Plenty of time for K&R afterwards. You know where to find them, and make sure to subscribe to their channel as well. All right, the Fink's coming up in just a minute. Of course, we hit the lines earlier for our friends at Clean Line. And, of course, if you've been to games or been in Winnipeg, you know that the leaders now for 40 years in the plumbing game, along with heating and electrical, is Clean Line, a proud locally owned business that has grown immensely as the leaders in both residential and commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical services. And as you see, they are captain approved. How about that picture of Big Adam Lowry, who we await to come back? Bringing the heat, captain approved. Our Clean Line plumbing, heating, and electrical. Find them online, cleanline.ca, for all your plumbing needs. Even if it's in the middle of the night, emergency services available as well. Big thanks to Clean Line for their support. Again, tomorrow we'll fire up the Jets lines for Clean Line, the official plumbers of the Winnipeg Jets, before the game in Philly tomorrow night. Hey, big night tonight. Blue Jays, great night to head by your local Boston Pizza. They've got a bunch of Blue Jays prizes to give away at the local BPs for the ALCS games. 200 Blue Jays hoodies that they're giving away. And you order a Jays Blueski and you could win. But it's also flight season, and they've got the new Flight Club menu. Perfect with the Jets being back. Pizza flights. 3 6-inch gourmet pizzas with 3 different sauces. The wing flights, 15 wings in 3 different flavors. Chicken bite flights, served in Thai, pineapple habanero, and honey garlic flavors. And now they've introduced fry flights. The classics, the yam fries, and the garlic parm fries served with chipotle and cactus dips. And when you receive a flight, you can also win a chance to win BP's grand prize trip for 2 to California to see the Jets play the Ducks February 27th, including flights, hotel, and amazing game tickets. Hey, we've talked a lot about Jonathan Toews. If you needed a week to watch him play the way he has before you got your jersey, get on down to Royal Sports right now and get one for this upcoming homestand. I saw a ton of them at the games on the weekend, and that is a good sign. Winnipeg's hockey hero coming home now, part of the club, and Royal Sports has got them ready for you, along with all of your other favorite players in the Winnipeg Jets, or they'll customize one for you as you want. While you're there, check out the best in Blue Bomber merchandise, many exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. And by far the biggest selection of NFL hats, jerseys, gear, and merch that you'll find anywhere. And again, hockey's back. And if you play in hockey, you probably already know this, but if you didn't, Royal Sports has been the hockey superstore in town for over 50 years with the biggest and best selection of hockey equipment, goalie gear, sticks, skates, right down to pucks and stick tape. They've got it all for you. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram as well for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right, we're going to check in with the Moose and then talk a little NFL with Thomas Tipple. First up, though, a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, fresh off the opening weekend for the Manitoba Moose, we head out to the Hockey for All Center and welcome in the voice of the Moose, our pal, Dan Fink. You can follow him on X at Daniel the Fink. What's going on, dude? How are you?
Oh, just kind of getting back up to speed after that rush up to the home opener. You know how that goes. The kind of 2 weeks, your life goes off the rails. You're at the office every night until it's dark out, and not just because the days are getting shorter. But it was nice the past couple of days here to start to get into that regular season rhythm and get set for heading out to Grand Rapids while kind of digesting the weekend that was.
You know, I took in the opener. I felt like I was living at the rink for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But I'm really glad I did. Seeing the team introduced, and the first thing that struck me before we even dropped the puck was just how much more stacked this team was after a really lean year that, was not what the organization wanted to put particularly young prospects through. But, man, it wasn't the veterans that turned the heads right off the bat. How about Braden Yeager scoring in his first shift as a professional on a nice dish from fellow Jet first-rounder Colby Barlow? A pretty nice way to get going on his professional career.
Well, you can't script it much better for anybody, really. I mean, for Yeager to score his first goal in his first shift, that gets that out of the way. You're not wondering when it's going to come, anything like that. You get that confidence going, and that's such a big thing for offensive players. You get a chance for the fans to see the skill on display there on the pass from Colby Barlow and the finish from Yeager, and to get things going, start feeling good on home ice. I mean, that was one of the prevalent things as the night went on and eventually got into post-game talking to players, is just how good it felt to open that season on a win and kind of banish some of the troubles from last season and really kind of put a new foot forward. And to start it out that way and then to kind of get a couple of honestly friendly goals, kind of a weird deflection for the Kevin Conley goal, and then another bounces in off a body and another one bounces in off a body. It's almost bounces that they might not have gotten the last season. So that was nice to see. And they got that put away goal in the third period that just kind of calmed things down. And they were able to kind of ride it out from there. As you could see both teams kind of going through we haven't really played a truly meaningful game in a while. Everyone's a little tired here and kind of get through that home opener. So didn't get the result they were looking for, despite I think some parts of their game might have been better on Sunday than they were on Friday, certainly defensively, but the bounces that Laval wasn't getting on that first night, they were getting on the second. So, and certainly a team that is kind of playing together for the first time now. So they'll work through sorting all this stuff out in a couple of valuable practices here this week before heading to GR.
Listen, I mean, obviously for both David Gustafson and Ville Heinola, probably a tough week. I mean, being, sent to the Moose with hopes of being in the National Hockey League. Both of them spoke. Well, Villy spoke to, hey, I was disappointed, but, I'm back. And I'll be honest, I was looking at Gus being introduced. He was in a suit because he had just officially kind of joined the team a few hours before, and I was feeling for him. But, man, so much respect. 2 goals in his first game. And, you can tell us, you're sort of behind the scenes. I mean, how both of those players handled, coming back to the Moose right now, and certainly on the ice, both look good.
Yeah, I think one thing to note about both Gus and Villy is that throughout their careers, no matter the situation, they've always been great Moose. And I think they're guys that understand that, and through various circumstances, what have you, that being in the American Hockey League, even if it's not where you want to be in that moment, it is still an opportunity every time you step on the ice to showcase yourself and take that next step. So while I'm sure it was a difficult week for both of those guys, I mean, they handled it well with their teammates and coming into the organization and with the team, and then performed admirably on the ice. And again, this is all happening so fast for everybody, right? Guys jumping into the lineup with limited practice, things like that. And you can add Brad Lambert to that list as well, as guys who kind of just got in without really having much of a skate to get to know new line mates and things like that. So the beginning of an American Hockey League season is always a very hectic time. And for players, it can take a little bit to get together. And I think we saw a good example of that on Sunday when you had a team in Laval that returned a lot of forwards. The defense is very much rebuilt, but that forward group played together a lot. That power play played together a lot last season. And I think you saw some of that cohesiveness come through where the Moose were still figuring out that chemistry and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how those players with more practices on their belt, with a game under their belt or two, start to kind of sink into the lineup.
It's a real college schedule for the first month or so, huh?
Yeah, and that's pretty common. I mean, for the American Hockey League, you're trying to kind of put off some of those games until the weather gets a little worse and people are thinking a little bit more about hockey as well. Because of how hectic it is to start, it gives teams that chance to actually practice with your lineup, not with the start where sometimes you can have as few as 15 guys for that first practice. Then all of a sudden you're up close to 40. Then you're back down to maybe 30. Everyone starts the season a little heavy, especially if you start at home, and then you start to trim down from there again. So you get in those kind of college schedules, but it will pick up for the Moose coming up here. They'll play these weekends and then they'll go on to a 4-game road swing that'll happen bang, bang, bang. So it does pick up.
The reason why I asked this is that we were talking about the opening weekend yesterday on the program, and we were looking ahead to what's up, and we're like, oh yeah, okay, they're in Grand Rapids on the weekend, and then they're in Grand Rapids weekend. You guys aren't staying in Grand Rapids for the entire week, right? Come back, practice here.
We'll be coming back. Yeah. That would, you know what? If there's a place you've got to spend a week, because we have had to do that. I think what was that 2018 playoffs? There was a graduation, like night after night after night in the building. So games 3 and 4 happened back to back. And then game 5 was, I think, 5 days later. So we had 3 or 4 days in Grand Rapids before that game. So if there's a place you got to do it, Grand Rapids is a great spot. That downtown area around the rink is fantastic.
You've got all the itineraries of places to go and eat and things to see. It could be the tour guide for that place. Well, we assumed that you guys would be coming home, but it is good to clarify. Just quickly, listen, and it was Barlow, Jagger, and Lambert together on a line. And I think that'll be a real group that the team, that fans focus in on. But, you got Giuseppe, Figemo. I mean, player or two that has sort of stood out to you so far that maybe hasn't been as much on Jet fans' radar up until the season.
I think if we're going to talk about anybody, it would be Danny Zhilkin. And I think he's kind of been pushing himself onto folks' radar over the past few weeks, right? So he's kind of one of those guys that's into his 3rd season of pro. And I was saying this with the Illegal Curve guys over the weekend, that sometimes this can be the season where it all comes together, especially for a guy like Danny, who's missed a good chunk of each of his first 2 seasons. So he's healthy. He got to finish the season last year on a kind of a high note is he had 5 points over his final 10 games. That was half of his production for the season. So you see a guy start to come together near the end of the season. He gets some confidence, started out so well at that prospects showdown in Montreal, and then hits the season. Well, picks up 2 points in the first game of the season and was kind of a driver for his line throughout the game on Sunday. So we'll see how the Lions all end up shaking out here over the next little bit. I'm sure Mark Morrison and crew will be tinkering throughout the week here to kind of find a combination of forwards that they like, and they have so very many options, with this lineup. I saw folks talking online about the lineup that got put out on Sunday, and it is when you have 11 National Hockey League contracts in your AHL forward group, that's pretty impressive depth-wise. So, and there's players that have been solid players for the Moose that are still fighting to get into the lineup. So the fact remains is you got to earn your ice time with this team. So if you're not going at full speed, somebody else is ready to do just that. So it's going to be quite the battle here for ice time over the next little bit.
Dan, thanks so much for doing this. Great to see everybody out at the home opener and the opening weekend. The team looks good, and we'll look forward to following this team on the road before getting back for some home cooking at the beginning of the month at Canada Life Center. Thanks for doing this.
Well, thanks for having me on. Yeah, you can follow along. We'll have all the games at moosehockey.com/listen live. You can also find them on CJOB's website. And, of course, you can watch along on AHL TV on Flow Hockey, and we'll have those starting 15 minutes before puck drop.
Good stuff, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Talk to you soon.
At Daniel the Fink on X, posting some great Moose content. As lots of interest in the AHL club this year, with the additions they made in the offseason and the talented young Jet players that are now starting their professional careers, as Braden Yeager and Colby Barlow officially did on the weekend. All right, we're going to talk a little NFL in a minute. We will get to the Coolbet lines. We cooked up a couple beauties for tonight after such a nice win last night. But speaking of winning, folks, if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Get your tickets for the HSC Millionaire Lottery, and maybe you can be Manitoba's next millionaire. Of course, all the funds raised go to help Manitoba's hospital, the Health Sciences Center, and the grand prize winner will have their choice. You can see it on the screen of one of 5 $1.5 million home packages, 4 in Manitoba, 1 in Vancouver Island, and the other option is $1.25 million cash. But you're also going to want to get in now because they've got some great early bird bonuses, including the upcoming Grey Cup bonus with 3 packages of prime seats for the big game. And, of course, another early bird deadline on Thursday, October 30th. Early bird packages worth over $215,000. You're also going to want to make sure to check out the 50-50 plus and the extra cash plus options. Current jackpot for the 50-50 plus is over $1 million, and the winner takes half. It's all waiting for you. HSCMillionaire.com is where you can buy your tickets. If you want to do it in person, pop by London Drugs or your local Red River Co-op and count yourself in support of Manitoba's hospital, the Health Sciences Center Foundation. And, of course, we talked a lot of Jets over the course of the show today. We'll remind you that the team is back at home on Saturday against the Nashville Predators, and then the following weekend has the 90s night. That was a real popular game theme last year. October 24th against the Flames, a Friday night game. First 5,000 fans get that limited edition corduroy snapback hat, and then Halloween game this year as well, October 30th against the Chicago Blackhawks. Get your costumes ready for that one. 4 and 6 game packs still available, as well as the most flexible product the Jets have ever launched, the Jets Passport, where your credit's onto your account and you can redeem it for tickets throughout the season. Go to winnipegjets.com for all of that, and go to winnipegjets.com/WST and get your tickets now for our next WST game of the month, Friday, November 21st against the Carolina Hurricanes and Nikolai Ehlers' return. All right, let's welcome in our pal Thomas Tipple. We got to get to a little bit of NFL talk. What's going on, pal? How are you? And just, I mean, you're a very realist when it comes to your Ravens. They're 1-5 going on to the bye We assume Lamar will come back. Will it be enough? Can this team still make the playoffs, or are they done?
I'm not holding out hope. But I will say for fantasy and betting wise, you're going to want to be all over them for points totals because, like you said, they need to win. Their defense is terrible, and they've got a fairly light schedule compared to what we thought it was going to be. Like I said, if you remember, I said when we started this season, you never know and you can't count on schedule differences because we don't know what defenses are good. We don't know what teams are bad. And the Ravens have a pretty favorable schedule. I will say, statistically speaking, it is almost impossible for them to make the playoffs right now. But I won't count them out for sure. But I'm looking forward more so to their fantasy production more than I am watching them try to play football.
Hey, let me ask you. I wanted to get into Rashee Rice and his return for the Chiefs.
Yep.
Listen, I'm a Chiefs guy, so I'm fired up. I mean, I've already been excited about the way the team's been progressing. I think he'll be a massive part of this Chiefs offense. But in one of my fantasy leagues, I found myself where I was pretty light at running back, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a roster that has Jackson Smith, Najigba there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had Rice returning. And I ended up trading Justin Jefferson along with David Njoku and Amari Demercado, just the guy needed another body, for Derrick Henry, Dalton Kincaid, and a 4th-round pick in the draft next year. I figure I'm kind of buying low on Derrick Henry right now. And I'm hoping that Rashee Rice can make up for the most part of what I'm losing in Justin Jefferson. Do you like that deal from my perspective, or am I buying some damaged goods in Ravens offensive players?
Yeah, I'm never trading Justin Jefferson in dynasty leagues. It's just not something I'm ever really doing. I like the idea of buying on Henry, but he's definitely not somebody that you're buying, quote, on the cheap at, the expense of somebody.
I should mention, this is a league where you can keep a guy. So you pick a guy in the 4th round, you keep him next year, he's your 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, it's a standard.
Keep him around. And so I kept him 3 times. He was going back in the draft. So there was no keeping of Justin Jefferson. I'm essentially trading the rest of this season of Jefferson for Derrick Henry to help out my running back game. I guess people are out on Derrick Henry. I'm not. I'm kind of saying what you're saying. This is a team that's going to be desperate to win every single time they go out right now. And I actually think this might be a perfect time to get in on some devalued Ravens players based on the start of the season.
Yeah, I definitely want to be buying the Ravens offense, especially on a bye week. That's something I mentioned last week with the Packers on a lot of Dynasty Points podcast, whether it's my mini pod that I do every Monday that gets released, or Dynasty Points, even the market report. We talk about bye players on bye weeks. Ravens are on their bye week. They will be out of sight, out of mind for people watching football, and that is a prime opportunity to buy. The same reason why I think people that when they play fantasy football focus so hard on the primetime standalone games is because it is the only thing that you have to focus on. So when a player does well, when a player does poorly, Bill Krosky-Merritt is a fantasy football favorite, scored 30 points a couple weeks ago, goes out there in primetime football and has one fumble. The other one was not his fault. If you think the second fumble was his fault, I would implore you to take a handoff. That is something I know extensively after playing 8 to 10 years here in Winnipeg for football. I have taken handoffs and given handoffs about, 5 to 10,000 times.
Execution was not there. Execution was off.
That's not on Bill, right? Hits JD's hands, goes to turn. The ball's already coming out. He kind of tossed it into the breadbasket. But now people are starting to wonder if Bill is a must sell or what, just because they saw the mistakes on primetime. So these standalone games. So when somebody's on bye week and they're out of the news, they're not in your stat sheets, they're not being talked about, no one's in primetime, they are easy for people to want to get rid of for points that will matter now. I did this with Josh Jacobs this last week, and look at the game that he had with 30 points. He was insane there for the Packers. So out of sight, out of mind players, I agree. Buy low. Zay Flowers is another one. You definitely want to be locked in on him. The only one that I'm really not is Mark Andrews, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm with you in that regard. Buying low on these guys.
Now, what about Rice? Expectations for Rice and what this does to the Chiefs offense moving forward from a fantasy perspective, because they say in KC, everyone's got to eat, but there's only so much to go around.
Nah, see, and I don't think everybody does have to eat. I think it'll be very limited on who gets to eat, because they've already come out with reports saying that they're looking to give him an extensive workload right out of the gate. I think what you're seeing from guys like Hollywood Brown, who've run 169 routes, that's definitely going to dip. I think they're going to stop letting Juju Smith-Schuster run 159 routes with his aging knees. And then I think what we've seen from Travis Kelce when Rashee Rice has been on the field, whether it was last year when he was averaging over 20 fantasy points per game, or down the stretch when Rashee Rice finally became a full-time player, that completely correlated with Travis Kelce dropping off the map in terms of production, because he runs the Travis Kelce role. That is the spot on the offense that he does run. So he averaged over 18 points per game, very Amon-Ra St. Brown-like in the back half of his rookie year when he became a first team type player. And then last year, before Patrick Mahomes decided football was too easy and he needed to take out his own guys, he was averaging over 20 points per game. And it's tough for a guy to come back and average 20 points per game. I'm not going to be full on expecting him to be a top 1 to 4 wide receiver in football, but there's no reason for me that with 10 to 12 projected targets per game, there is no running game. I think Rashee Rice will be the running game. There are rumors that they will trade for a running back. That's just not what the Chiefs have done in their time, though they are forcing Brashard the ball every time he's on the field pretty much. But I think that the way the offense is and has been, with the defense being a little bit more susceptible, I think it is fair to assume that somebody like Rice is a 25 to 28% target share guy. He will be a 18-ish to 17-ish points per game type guy. I will say, talk about hits and misses, I will say that this was the year, the last couple of years I've been very down on Patrick Mahomes. They have been bored. They have been over it. Now they get absolutely dog walked in a Super Bowl, and they come back. They're a little angry. You guys may finally be rid of Matt Nagy from your coaching staff, as he is the betting favorite to take over in Tennessee at the end of the year. So I love that for you guys as well.
Oh, me too.
But obviously I love Rashee Rice. He's been a big hold for me. He's been a buy for 3 straight years. I think what you can expect is going to be more of a low to mid-end wide receiver one on a week-to-week basis with week winning upside every single week.
I want to ask you about Baker Mayfield. And listen, I'm sitting on a bunch of Mahomes MVP futures, and he's making me nervous. It is incredible what he is pulling off right now. People look at Tampa, and if they aren't paying attention to the games, they're just, they won a shootout in Seattle, and they probably should have beaten Philly. They're 5-1 right now. And then you look, there's no Mike Evans, there's no Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving didn't play, and rookie Mkambuka, who'd been their number 1 receiver all year, was out in the second quarter. Just how impressive is this to you with what Baker's doing, and what's the potential of this Tampa team once these guys start coming back?
I think it would be hard for them to get better. I just think the train keeps rolling. More than not, I think this week will be a big test. There's no Bucky, there's no Godwin, there's no Evans, there's no Macmillan. I think Cade Otton is probably the guy that benefits the most. If you fell for the Cade Otton trap last year after a couple games, it was definitely when everyone else was injured. So this is definitely going to be it for him. But I also love Rachaad White. He is just somebody that I'm constantly drafting, constantly acquiring, even though he's left for dead more often than not. I think the offense has been outstanding. I think Baker Mayfield has been a coach maker. I think he gets away with murder on the field. He throws footballs that should be intercepted more than anyone else in football, perhaps. Like if you look at some of Igbuka's separation numbers, and yes, I know there's a lot of controversy over separation numbers, Baker Mayfield is throwing the ball into coverage on a regular basis and just not caring. And that's always been his thing. Just over his career, it's turned into interceptions. his turnover-worthy throw rate, all those kind of things, his hero throw rate are constantly upper tier in football, especially if you're in the fantasy points data suite and you're checking it out. I think Baker Mayfield is rightfully the front runner for the MVP at the moment. I think when you get a game like the Lions, who have, a bunch of secondary players injured at the moment, I think what you're going to see from this week is the front runners. I think it's Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield at the end of the year, currently front running for MVP. But I think when everyone gets back, it's just status quo. It is as advertised. I am buying Mike Evans while he's hurt. I'm buying Bucky Irving while he's hurt. Chris Godwin, not as much. I was very excited after the 9 targets he got when he first came back, but it looks like that knee is and the ankle is not really cooperating with him. But I'm in on Evans, obviously in on Egbuka. I think some of the efficiency stuff is bound to drop over time, but I've been wrong about that all season, so I'm very much a wait for the shoe to drop kind of guy. But I love the offense. I love what they're doing, and he seems unstoppable right now. There's nothing I can take away from him.
Thomas Tipple is with us from Fantasy Points. When we need data, fantasy, or betting advice, always leaning on the amazing Fantasy Points site. You got to use the Fantasy Points data suite, the best research tool in the world. Use WST10 to sign up and dominate your league. Before we go, we were going to hit this last week. We're sort of at the midway point of the fantasy season. And listen, injuries have devastated many a roster. But outside of injuries, because what can you do about that? Those happen. Is there a player or two that you look back to the preseason and you nailed? And is there a guy or two that has maybe been a big whiff that you're kicking yourself about?
Yeah, so I'll obviously start with some of the guys that I did not get right. There are just some players that I faded for multiple reasons down the stretch, one of them being Baker Mayfield. I had Baker Mayfield as somebody that I was not drafting at ADP for every single reason that I have continuously come up and talked about on this program. I'll say JSN at his ADP was not something that I was expecting, this kind of insane usage and production. Sam Darnold has been every bit as advertised. Like, we are on pace of seeing a JSN season. That obviously the 40% of the team's yards is not going to stand, but he's second in wide receivers in fantasy points next to Puka Nacua. But those are a couple guys that I was a little bit wrong on for ADP. I'll say Quentin Johnston is somebody that I was not expecting, which goes hand in hand with me projecting Ladd McConkey as the Chargers wide receiver 1. So those are a couple players that I definitely think my process will need improving on in next year, accounting for a few more variables than I had expected. Did not expect this Chargers running game to be almost non-existent, with Najee Harris blowing his Achilles as well as trying to blind himself with fireworks. And then, of course, the injury to Omarion Hampton was not something I was expecting. I was expecting a much heavier run game, but the Chargers have been one of the best pass rate over expectation teams in the NFL. Not something I was expecting. So if you bought in on that at a cheaper price, then congratulations, you have yourself some league winners, some stuff that I was not factoring in. I'll also say Roma Dunze was also a sell for me in the offseason, just based on, look, I understood the JSN thing from year 1 to year 2, the Waldron stuff. You got a discount with JSN. You did not see an ADP discount with the Dunze. It was just built in and expected. Those are bets that I almost never make. So Roma Dunze is another player I definitely did not get as right as I think I could have had I been more open. Some players I got right, though. Oh, baby. Jonathan Taylor. This is somebody that was my dark horse to finish as the RB1. He is an elite player. They got Anthony Richardson out of there, thankfully, and he is thriving. Second most fantasy points scored by running backs. He is only 3 points behind the GOAT himself. Christian McCaffrey leads the NFL in rushing. Looked bleak early with the Daniel Jones 1 yard discount Dollar Tree Jalen Hurts act at the 1 yard line over the first couple of weeks, but that looks really good. Javonte Williams is somebody I loved. Cheap running backs. When you are left for dead when you are almost a meme, that is somebody that I want in on because they are free, they're inexpensive, and they have nothing but upside. I'll also give a shout out to Kyron Williams. Every single season, the Rams draft some 6th round running back, some 7th round, some day 3 guy that is going to usurp Kyron Williams, and they never do. Oh, but he fumbles. Oh, but he's not athletic enough. It simply doesn't matter. Sean McVay loves Kyron Williams. I love Kyron Williams. He is once again going to be an RB1 this season, and I would be out of line if I did not mention my love for Dak Prescott this season. This is probably one of my easiest hits. I'm still mad. I am furious that an ankle injury robbed us of a CeeDee Lamb upper tier season for my futures bets, but this George Pickens, Dak Prescott, Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb offense with Javonte is just going to continue to make me money, make your subscribers money if they are locked in at fantasypoints.com, tailing all of the Dallas Cowboys stuff. It has just been a fun year for that offense in a year that offense has kind of been bad. Football has sucked this season, if I'm being completely honest. The games have been clumsy and clunky. The upper tier games have just not really been there. Look at the Jets. Oh my goodness. Negative net passing yards at the end of a game. I cannot believe it. How Justin Fields goes from looking the most broken fantasy quarterback in the league, torching leagues, to looking like he belongs on a CFL practice squad is beyond me. For a guy like Justin Fields, I think you're really I've got my bets on the rushing from Justin Fields. I am legitimately concerned that will not hit because Tyrod Taylor is going to find his way into games as Aaron Glenn is fighting for a season. It is not. It is not good.
I still can't believe that the NFL sent the Jets overseas to showcase their product.
They're lucky that wasn't considered an act of terrorism. That was one of the worst. That was one of the worst displays of football you could have possibly sent.
And Denver barely won the game too. I mean, as a fan of another team in the AFC West, I didn't mind to see that. Although it would have been nice to see if they could have done something late and got a field goal attempt. Great stuff, Thomas. Thanks as always, pal. Have yourself a great weekend. Let's keep on cashing a few tickets and making our way to the fantasy playoffs. We'll hook up next week. Be well.
Take care, everybody. Enjoy the football this week.
Good stuff. If you want to hit him up on X at El Nostra Thomas, great with getting back to people. Seems like he's dialed in 24/7, talking NFL, talking fantasy. So got some lineup decisions or a trade that you want an expert on, go there. And as I say, Fantasy Points, just an amazing site to help you dominate your league. All right, we've got CFL football talk coming up. CFL 110 with myself and Jeff Hamilton is going to premiere right at the end of this program in less than 10 minutes. Let's get Michael Remis back in here. And Remo, we've got not a bad slate of games tonight. I think we've got, 4 in the league tonight. And we're going to have to get into the Coolbet lines because last night was a very, very nice night. The parlay that Jake and I cooked up cashed. The Leafs puck line Edmonton money line parlay cashed. I even won a soccer bet. The draw, Canada-Colombia last night. I actually watched that. It was a lot of fun getting ready for the World Cup. Great competition for Canada. And they hung with the Colombians. So it was a great, great night. But I think we have to start with the Blue Jays game. Where are you at on this game tonight? I mean, this is a big one. The Mariners can basically all but slam the door on the Blue Jays with a win tonight.
Probably more value betting on the Blue Jays. If you're watching the game, you're watching us now, you're probably hoping the Blue Jays to win plus 110. You got to hope Shane Bieber finds the form that he had previously. Wasn't a great start against the Yankees. I think for the Mariners, maybe you hope, okay, George Kirby's kind of, their arms are kind of worn out. Logan Gilbert pitched on short rest in game 2, wasn't as sharp as he was in that bullpen outing in game 5 against Detroit.
Amazing.
So, I think someone asked me in the last series against the Yankees, who do you like here who do you like or what bets do you like? I'm like, well, just take the Jays. They're plus money if you think they're going to win. And most people watching this do want the Jays to win. So I think that would be an easy one to target.
Well, I put together, if you want to just hit the exclusives and click on the WST parlay. We've got a baseball ride with us today. I'm like, what's the path for the Blue Jays to win? What needs to happen? What are we wanting to see happen tonight to get this team back into the series? Well, it's going to start with 2 things. Some offense. Well, Vlad needs to step up tonight. So we got Vlad over 1.5 total bases. The pitching needs to step up, specifically the starter, and let's not hook these guys after they give up 1 hit or something happens. So we've got Bieber, 5 or more strikeouts, and the Jays to win. The guys are taking care of the boost these days. We got it up to 5-1. So plus 500, Guerrero, 2+ total bases, Bieber, 5 strikeouts, Jays to win. That is in the exclusives, the Winnipeg Sports Talk parlay, just right underneath there where you are, Reem.
Oh, the Sports Talk parlay. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. The ride with us. So Guerrero, Bieber, Jays to win. That's our path. And heck, I mean, we got to have faith. They've won a lot of games this year. Their backs against the wall. Has to happen tonight. Now, there's a lot up in the combo cards today. The hockey, the points from the point, the Lamplighters are back. Look at Patty's prop shop tonight. He's got a point from Dylan Guenther, a hit from Ernie Clement, and a point from Anton Lundell. That's got a nice boost to plus 376. But coming off our win last night, we're going back to the hockey, and we're hitting every game tonight, Remis. We talked about the Buffalo Sabres earlier today. The Buffalo Sabres have to win tonight. This is a team that will be very focused for the 4th game of the regular season, looking to give their home fans something to cheer about. They are 6-3-1 against the Sens in their last 10. Beat them a number of times last year. They traditionally have had some success against Ottawa. Ottawa is without their captain and their heartbeat, Brady Tkachuk. So this won't happen very often, but we're putting Buffalo on the card tonight. And then we're going to take the other favorites, the Florida Panthers, who are taking on the Detroit Red Wings. They're at minus 143 favorites. Bob will start for Florida. And then 2 pretty big favorites, the Blues at home to the Blackhawks and the Utah Mammoth home to Calgary, who blew a 2-0 lead last night against the Vegas Golden Knights. And the boost department's doing quite well. If you put that in yourself, it's plus 585. With the combo cards, it's up to plus 689. So that is right up there beside the Wednesday night super boost. The boost tonight is Bieber over 3.5 strikeouts and Sam Reinhart to get a point to up to plus 130. So top of the page on the sports, the combo cards, bunch of good ones, including Ride with Us. And then we do have a Blue Jays exclusive under the exclusives tab under Winnipeg Sports Talk. What do you think about Buffalo tonight?
I don't mind it. Brady Tkachuk not playing. Sens goalie Levi Marilainen. This evening they don't have Allmarkin. Buffalo at home is, I don't know if you want to call it a must win, but desperate.
Gotta have it.
Desperate for a win. I do like Buffalo. I'm here for this one. Florida against Detroit. I don't know if you saw this for Detroit. We're focused on former Jet Nikolai Ehlers. How about former Jet Mason Appleton lining up on line 1 for Detroit this evening, Huss, with Dylan Larkin and Emmett Finney. Interesting lineup choices there for Detroit.
They saw that snipe of Appleton falling down.
As a
in
nice
one of
goal.
the games against Toronto. It was a nice goal.
It's increasing
Hey, listen, I always thought that he took a lot of crap for no reason here. Like, was he a superstar, a star player? No. I mean, it was the stupidest conversations here. Oh, he's getting more ice time than Nikolai Ehlers. Well, it was a different role playing with Adam Lowry on the best shutdown line in a league for a team that won the Jennings Trophy. I mean, they were winning games. It was working. So, and does Ehlers work on that line? No. So, anyways, I understood why they moved on from him. I wasn't saying that they should re-sign him, but I do hope for good things. He was a great guy to deal with, always really nice to us. And, as I said, off to a half-decent start there with the Red Wings. So he'll be there tonight. The interesting first line. Maybe you can get some Appleton on your DraftKings lineup tonight.
I don't know if I'll take Appleton. He's not on power play, but one guy who is on power play one, Josh Doan, plus 137 to score a point. He's playing on line 2 with Jason Zucker, and Zach Benson also on line 1 and power play 1. He's minus 102 for a point, but Josh Doan actually seems like a decent val right there. So I'll throw that one out there.
Good stuff. All right. You can get that out again, of course, coolbet.com. If you haven't played there before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And do not forget, a week from today is the next Coolbet WST Wednesday night poker tourney. I will be in, Remis will be in. There'll be $100 bounties on our heads, but there's a new bounty in town. And that is a bounty on the Hammer, Jeff Hamilton, the defending champion. We need to stop the Hammer. So join us next Wednesday. We'll have details on our socials and on the program. But mark it down. The next Wednesday night poker is a week from today. And we will all conspire to prevent another victory lap from Hammer when he joins us on the show on Friday. Great show today. Awesome having Frankie Corrado on, one of my favorites to talk to. Appreciate him. Of course, Ken Wiebe, Dan Fink, Thomas Tipple, all of you for being a part of us. But we're just getting going because big game on Friday, playoff picture in the Canadian Football League, Riders clinch the West. It is all coming up right now if you're with us live on YouTube on the latest edition of CFL 110. If you're catching this later on, go check the YouTube channel for the latest as we get ready for the second last week of the regular season in the CFL. That's going to do it for us. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Thank you to all of our sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Have a great night and stay tuned live right here for CFL 110 on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.